Can I start? Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today I'm going to speak about the impact of the CRA on the open source communities, the consumption of open source projects, and the IoT industry. So, yeah, my name is Juan Rico. I work for the Eclipse Foundation, and I've been involved in the CRA, standardization, and related efforts since the very beginning. And yeah, when I think about the CRA, I always have the farmer parable in mind. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? Because the CRA starts with good intentions, which is increase the cybersecurity of the products, protect business and consumers, yeah, basically create a more resilient way of developing products, put them in the market. But on the other hand, we have a lot of new obligations that we need to understand how to make them viable, how to implement them, what is the impact that they will have on the real market. And yeah, so good intentions, a lot of obligations. So yeah, why the CRA is concentrating so much attention? The first thing is because manufacturers are highly impacted by it. Yeah, now you are responsible, or manufacturers are responsible for every piece of code that your product contains. So that's a big change, because before everyone was consuming open source, and we trust open source guys because we are great people. But yeah, now you are responsible for those pieces of open source that you are putting in all your products. The second point is that now with the CRA, you should give support through the whole product life cycle. So it's not just taking care of it until it is in the market. Now you must keep supporting it for their entire life cycle. So that's changed a lot, the way products are thought, the way you are establishing relationship with your consumers, and also the way that you are planning your portfolios, because this is a complete change in how things were done before. And yeah, if this is not enough, now you have additional responsibilities. If you find a problem, a vulnerability, you are now responsible for identifying, fix it, and also share the fix with the upstream projects or the upstream contributors or the suppliers that have worked with you on this. So yeah, that's a lot of new things that needs to be taken into consideration when you are developing your products. And the good intentions that we have before now turn into, wow, this is a lot of new things that we don't know how to implement. And yeah, why I'm focusing on open source? Basically because today, 75, roughly 74 actually, but 3/4 of the entire world code base is open source. So that's a lot. And 94% of the products includes open source components in it. So it's no longer a discussion about whether open source is useful or not, if it is secure or not. It's basically how you are thinking your products, what kind of consumption of open source you are going to do, and how you are establishing the relationship with those suppliers or those projects that you are consuming. So that's a huge thing. And if you think on the effort that you need to put to replace 75% of your code, it's a lot. And that's something that will make it not sustainable for you. That will be a lot of, very, very hard to include these new pieces of code just purely developed by you, and makes a complete game changer in the way that you are using and consuming open source. So some specific challenges in terms of cybersecurity that we have in the IoT, and yeah, of course, device heterogeneity. We know the different types of products that companies have in their portfolios, the capabilities of the devices, network interfaces. There are a lot of different ways that IoT products are considered as different. Also, the lifecycle management. So it's not the same a tiny sensor that will be installed in a lamppost for 10 years that a product that you have and you are giving this life of 10 years. So having this variety of products is important to be considered when you are designing it. And also in terms of the cybersecurity, because now you need to report and fix the vulnerabilities they have. So that's something that you should have in mind as well. The third element is the supply chain complexity. Yeah, everyone knows what they are installing, but when we are asked what the components, the open source components that we are consuming has inside, the answer is not that direct. So understanding what is the supply chain, or what are the components that you are installing, what are the components inside the components that you have, and all the dependency trees that are behind it. Is super important to understand your obligations with the CRA and how you can act and react to them. And the last part is patch management and updates. And yesterday I have a very funny conversation with a train manufacturer, because he told me that the product life cycle for them could be up to 50 years. So if you try to fix now something that was done 50 years ago, okay, we didn't have internet. So probably if you are designing a product for 50 years, you need to consider a lot of new things that were not even invented. So yeah, having this change in the mindset when you are designing and working with products is really important to comply with the CRA requirements. Good, so to transform the whole IoT business, and this is the way we see that the CRA is actually impacting all of us, we see three main points. The first one is using open source as a strength. Why? Because it gives transparency, which is one of the requirements of the CRA. It enables collaboration. So a common problem is that many people is using open source components, but they are not speaking to each other. But now when you have a vulnerability in one of those components, the problem is for all of you. So having this collaboration opportunity is a good way of fixing things quickly, create stronger relationships, and also be ready to be compliant with the CRA. And the third element is innovation. Through open collaboration, the innovation sparks, and that's something that could be used as a strength. But of course, open source has some risks. And the first one is understand the dependencies. As I said before, it's important to know what is inside of the components you are using and how you are going to deal with them. The fragmentation, of course, is not the same having one project directly from the person who is doing with, working with it, that forking it from for your own company, modify it, and doing stuff on top of it. So understanding what is the relationship, how you are connected to the original project, and yeah, having a good mapping of responsibilities, ownership, and identify all these things is really, really important. And the third element is the responsibility gap. Open source projects and components are not your suppliers. So you cannot ask them to do things. If you want something or someone to do things, you need to pay for them. So it's important to understand this part because, yeah, with the use of open source and the CRA, you might think that they are, or the projects are responsible for fixing things for you, but that's not the case. And indeed, the CRA recognized a new role for open source. So understanding this responsibility gap, it's also really important. And the third element is the secure supply chain. So, yeah, one of the main things of the CRA is the due diligence obligations of manufacturers. So when you are using and consuming open source, you need to understand what's the health of this project, how it works, how many people is contributing to it, is it active or not. So understanding these kind of things, it's really important basically to introduce in your products open source projects that actually are viable, are active, and can help you to be compliant with the CRA. And there is one simple way of making sure that that the components or the projects you are using are active, which is basically involved in them. This doesn't mean that you need to contribute code every single day, but basically stay active in the community to understand, yeah, what are the challenges they have, how you can help. Yeah, those are the kind of things that you can support open source that is not only providing code. And yeah, the visibility of dependencies, again, that's one of the most important things to understand how your product is prepared to be compliant with the CRA. So in general, my feeling is that the CRA is creating advantages because you can use security as a market differentiator. That's something that didn't happen before. The second is that you need to create new relationship with your suppliers. So you will create long-term trust, which is also one of the biggest challenges when you are building products. And the third is access to regulated markets. The CRA is quite challenging. It's created a lot of new requirements. And if you are ready to comply with that, you will be ready for sure to be accessing regulated markets. So yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about building new relationships because I'm the program manager for the Open Regulatory Compliance. And basically what we are doing is create a collective effort from the open source community to bring clarity on the CRA. So yeah, some of the members that are in the working group, we are currently 56. That includes big companies, small companies, open source foundations, associations. So basically a broad range of members. And of course, I invite you all to join us. But why the work we are doing is important? The first one is because it's a neutral forum, and that's something super important when you are working with big companies. Usually, big companies try to drive all the efforts in the direction that they need. But the way we are designed is basically to be neutral in the way we decide the road we are following. The second is because we are working on regulatory awareness and ecosystem impact. One of the main challenges with the CRA is the lack of awareness. Very few people know what's the real impact, how to deal with it, what's the standardization role, everything that is related to compliance. So what we are doing in the working group is try to simplify or make closer to the people and understand what's the role of the CRA, of the regulations in general, how they can you can still use open source, how you establish this new relationship, and yeah, all together keep working on compliance. Third element is best practices and sustainable solutions, because actually many things that have been done in open source for many years helps to comply with the CRA. So it's bringing these best practices to the audience, or to the general or broader audience, not only the open source guys, just to be sure that yeah, we can use this as a basis for comply with the CRA. And yeah, the education and implementation, of course, there's a lot of need of education, simplifying how you can be part of open source. And the last part is institutional engagement. And that's one of the key areas that we are working, because we saw that the way of simplifying things is basically interacting directly with the ones that are writing the laws and the standards. So we are also part of the standardization bodies, the CRA expert group, just to be sure that the way open source is consumed and understand the way industries are working with open source works in a sustainable way for everyone. So just for closing, the first thing that I want to say is that the opportunity is bigger than the challenge. This is super important from my side. And 3 or 4 takeaways is understand your supply chain. Be sure that you know with whom you are working, why you are introducing things in your products, and what's the relationship you are establishing with all of them. The second is engage, be part of the open source projects, talk to them, join the conversations. The third, join existing initiatives working in the area. Don't start from scratch, because it's really hard. There are people like us that are already working on this, so join those groups and yeah, simplify your journey to CRA compliance. And the third thing is that it was commented in the first talk, but start now. Although the obligations, or the reporting obligations for vulnerability starts next year, CRA, everything is 2027. If you don't start now, you are going to have troubles in 2027, that's for sure. So yeah, that's it. You can join us in GitHub, follow us on social media, connect with me as well. So feel free to reach out. We have a booth over there, and we will be the whole day. And we have a panel discussion, I think in an hour, more or less. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.